because I want to talk about, like we live in an era where vaccination is like a very important thing. Obviously in 1952, Jonas Salk was credited with finding the polio vaccine. But a lot of people don't know this. A lot of people don't know. He was aided. He would never have been able to find the polio vaccine if it wasn't for a black woman. She was a mother of 5 children, and her name was Henrietta Lacks.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did they not make a movie about that recently?
Did they?
Oh,
I don't know.
wow.
You're gonna have to.
No, it was. Look at me. I'm gonna get myself into some. No, it was the ladies who worked at NASA. There was three black ladies. Do you know about them?
Yeah, sure. Let's just loosely connect our facts together by that.
All right, sweet. But I'm gonna say, aided by the polio vaccine by Henrietta Lacks. I'm gonna say you're telling the truth.
I am telling the truth, but in a kind of a weird roundabout way, because Henrietta Lacks wasn't an assistant. She was a woman who suffered with cervical cancer.
Sure.
And the year before, her doctor had taken a biopsy of the tumor in her cervix. And it turned out that these particular cells from that biopsy were immortal. Essentially that because what a normal cell will do is, over time, the telomerase at the end of the DNA slowly shorten every time it replicates itself until eventually they're gone, and then it can't replicate itself and it implodes and it dies.
Good grief.
So that's ultimately why we die. And
because of that substance.
Because of the telomerase shortening.
Telomerase.
Yeah. And
is that 2 words? Telomerase.
No. It's a single word, and it basically, like, if you think about your shoelace, that little thing at the end. I'm sure the thing at the end of a shoelace has got a word, and I should know.
Remember the movie Cocktail with Tom Cruise?
Yeah. Anyway, so it's like that thing on the end of your DNA. It's essentially that little end of the shoelace on the end of your DNA, and that little thing shortens every single time. And when it's finished, the DNA is fucked, and the whole thing implodes.
Man.
And it turned out that in her mutated cancerous cells, these telomerase didn't get shorter. They carried on getting longer after every replication. And so essentially these cells can live forever. As long as you're feeding them nutrients, they will continue to replicate. And they've subsequently found that many kinds of cancer do this. But she was the first. She was in 1951. She was the first person, and her cells are now known as HeLa cells, from Henrietta Lacks, HeLa, and those cells have gone on now to be used in huge amounts of medical research. But there's this big controversy now because although it was legal at the time, they were taken from her and used without her permission. Or without the permission of her family, because she did subsequently die. So they've used these kind of immortal cells for a very long time, and a lot of people saying that the research that comes from it is a little bit kind of morally tainted, and we should stop using these cells now, particularly given that we found other ones. But yeah, for the last 70 years and still today, those cells are a part of medical research. Jeez. So yeah, Jonas Salk couldn't have found the polio vaccine. Without those cells, he used those cells in discovering the polio vaccine. So there you are.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well done. That's lovely.
It's an actual thing. I mean, I'm sure there's quite a lot of kind of history of people going uncredited. You normally think of it when I worded it like that because there's assistants that I'm sure have come up with discoveries.
Yes.
That have gone entirely kind of uncredited. And who am I? Who am I to correct history? Let's leave them uncredited. Let's not unveil any of them here today.
Oh man, that is a cool fact.
The plastic tip is called an aglet.
Oh really? An aglet, the plastic tip on the end of a shoelace. Thanks, Deets. That's Deets' producer.
Yeah.
Rock and roll, sitting there.
So he doesn't just choose the terrible topics for us to discuss. He also has facts of his own.
In the movie Cocktail, it was a falugal binder. That's what.
Is that what they called it?
Tom Cruise called it.
So obviously Tom Cruise was wildly incorrect.
No, but he was being funny.
Oh, was he?
Yeah, he was trying to.
They were different kind of funny in the 80s, weren't they?
Yeah, he was trying to chaff the girl who was very pretty, and she's the girl from Karate Kid. But we are doing the history of biology, not 80s movies, Ryan.
Yeah, no, everything will come back to 80s movies eventually, though.